Ladies and gentlemen, the internet is a wild place. And when I say a wild place, I mean sometimes you go on the internet and you're like, oh, why am I here? And you realize that there's no amount of soap that can wash off the things that you've just seen. And then other times you're just like, all right, this is pretty good. Ruben Langdon responded to some posts out there this week. He is notably the voice actor for Dante. He's been the voice actor for Dante since Devil May Cry 3, Devil May Cry 4, and Devil May Cry 5. And I saw this today, and I was like, you know what? God, I love talking about Devil May Cry, and this is a different way to talk about it. So let's get into this. All right, so very recently, Young Bosch, if you guys don't know who Young Bosch is, he was the second Black Ranger in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. My second favorite Ranger. I have always loved Young Bosch. Anything that he is in, I probably give more credit to than I should because I absolutely love him in the interviews that I've seen him in. But he responded to somebody asking him a question. Where is Reuben Langdon? What's going on with him? He said he basically gave up acting and he's not doing acting, but Young Bosch wants to get him back in. Well, Reuben Langdon responded to that and was like, nah, bro, I'm still acting. In an article over by the Niche Gamer, and I can pull this up here. In an article over by the Niche Gamer, sorry, I'm scrolling through. Basically, the iconic actor and game voice actor Reuben Langdon hasn't quit acting despite the claims of rumors that he ended the career to focus on other projects. This is, in fact, not true. And scrolling down here, we'll get to the post here in just a second. He says, thanks, but I'm still acting, in a response to people who were like, man, pour one out for one of the good ones. Thank God the cap is on this and I didn't just ruin all of my equipment. I should probably check that. He says, just looking to take a break during the Biden COVID jab mandates, as I didn't want to subject myself to experimental bioweapon. Oh my God. That is insane. Let's pull that tweet up right here because we can go and we can find the tweet. And then I went and dug a little deeper on this, and man, I just freaking love this. First of all, somebody in especially acting, and he is most notably stunt work. A lot of you guys don't realize this. I went and did some background digging. I'm like, man, I know him for being the voice of Dante from 3 onward, but I don't know him for much of his other work. If you go to his IMDb page, he's a stunt guy. Hats off to the stunt guys because they don't get enough recognition here. He has done so much stunt work, what's the word? What's the word when somebody comes in? Consulting, stunt consulting. Words are hard for rednecks, people, but he's done so much stunt consulting and work throughout the years. It's absolutely insane, which is why you probably don't see him or hear him in a lot of other projects because it seems like he's more passionate about that. So going over here to Twitter, it's like, wow, was that actually a real thing? And I know Twitter is absolutely a terrible place sometimes, but that's right here. So Klein Harvey up here says, here's my message. Thank you to Reuben Langdon. And Reuben Langdon responds, it's a long message from the fans. And he says, thanks, Klein, but I'm still acting. Just took a break during the Biden COVID jab mandates as I didn't want to subject myself to the experimental bioweapon. This was wild. Now, the thing that blew my mind on this is not only does this come out and just throw a haymaker like that online. Haymaker needs to make a comeback. Love that word. Start using haymaker. So people start commenting. Now, this person here says, now, Mr. Ruben, I'm a big fan of your work, but I must say that those shots helped millions of people and saved the lives of those surrounded by disease. It saved my families from experiencing grief and had to be put out quickly in order to prevent more trauma and tragedy. And Reuben Langdon says, you sound like Trump. Bam! Haymaker number 2. Here's the thing, guys. When I read this, because I wanted to see what people were saying, I was like, wait a minute here. And then he plays this clip from a podcast that showed an interview that Trump was in. And they were like, look, the jabby jabs weren't exactly the best thing on the planet. And then Trump's like, well, we're doing research and all. Anyway, this blew my freaking mind. Not only did it blow my mind that a voice actor, somebody in that industry, came out and had a stance on the jabs. That's one thing. But what also blew my mind is that it would seem that in the Biden v. Trump debate, Reuben Langdon is like, nah, bro, like both of these guys contributed to something that I didn't like. And he was logically consistent in that. Now, I don't know if he's logically consistent in other places, but I saw this and just flipped. I was like, this is really cool to see somebody, an actor, somebody hold on to their scruples or what, I don't know, whatever you would want to call it, talk about the jab in that way, because a lot of people out there during that time period when there was supposedly going to be mandates for businesses to keep people on, a lot of people were considering not getting it and putting their livelihood on the line. In fact, I know this. My wife and I were very unsure of it ourselves, and we were ready for me to potentially lose my job and do what we had to do to make ends meet. This was a very real conversation in my house, and there's a lot behind that as well. But Reuben Langdon here just straight up said it. He's like, no. And then on top of that, didn't defend one side or the other. And dude's throwing out haymakers left and right in this post. And if you go in, he is really looking at it. Now, I will say this. I don't know a lot about Reuben. But what I do know is what I was able to go through and see. And he is very much about health and wellness and what you put in your bodies and not believing in the pharmaceutical companies and wanting to make sure that we are as healthy as we can be. And honestly, when I saw this, I went, man, I'm not a fan of how Dante has been written in 4 and 5. Devil May Cry 4 and 5, they never got back. They never got back to that original Dante, which they should chronologically, right? The guy who was not only kind of had that rock and roll attitude, but he was also smart. He was like a rock and roll version of Indiana Jones. He still knew a lot about a rock and roll version of Nathan Drake, right? He still had that rock and roll attitude, but also very book smart, was very learned in what he did. The first Devil May Cry, we never got back to that. So I may have a problem with that writing, but I'm here to tell you right now that even though I might politically disagree in some other areas, I don't know, I just did a quick Twitter search. But even though I might politically disagree with Reuben, that right there, I agree with him here. I think what he said right there was absolutely awesome. He's like, look, we didn't test this stuff. I wasn't going to put it in my body, and I don't think a lot of other people should have. And guess what? In that first post, he said it was the Biden mandates. In that second one, he was like, you sound like Trump. That sounds to me like somebody who's been researching the issues and definitely does not want to give way to the propaganda on both sides of the aisle. I think it's really interesting, especially because I have a lot of conversations very similar to this. One of my favorite shorter conversations was about an act that was passed by Congress, that the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI could spy on the PlayStation networks and things like that. My response to that was, wow, Trump passed that. And, but Trump was fighting the system, ladies and gentlemen. He was fighting the system. He can't fight everything. I'm like, yeah, he can. It's called a veto, right? It's so interesting. And dude, if this reached Reuben Langdon, I mean, I would imagine that he and I would not agree on a lot of things. Maybe, I don't know. But it's so interesting to see somebody out there who is like, oh, you're saying this? Yeah, you know who you sound like? You sound like not the person that I listed in the first part. Because there's a lot of information out there. And you know what? Reuben, dude, keep acting. Keep going at it. It would be awesome to see you. Stunt coordinators don't get enough. They really don't get enough recognition in today's movie because a lot of stuff is so CGI'd nowadays. It's been watered down. Some of the most famous stunt coordinators that you guys might recognize are the guys who actually directed all of the John Wick movies. And when you think about the choreography in those, you can start to think about how Reuben Langdon's mind might work. Yes, the guy is most notably Dante in our space, but in another space, He's most notably a stunt guy that knows what he is doing. And in my mind now, this guy is somebody who's willing to lay down haymakers online just to make sure that you understand where he's coming from. He's not talking about the jabby jabs from the right. He's not talking about them from the left. He's talking about them from somebody who was concerned about a potential harm to himself and those around him, and did his research and looked into it. And to be perfectly honest, there's not a lot of people out there that do that in today's day and age. It's nope, if the red or the blue tell me what to do, that's how I'm gonna do, and you should do that too. And it's honestly led us to a place where we're very polarized because we're busy in our days. We don't have the time. Most people don't have the time to go out and research a lot of this stuff or even know the sources to look from, or they're not on Twitter, so they don't see what random people are saying here and there. And the world is so full of information that oftentimes we don't exactly see what's going on. We only know what's being presented to us by the easiest method that we can get it. And honestly, Reuben Langdon didn't take that method. I didn't care that he may have stepped down from being Dante because I was like, Dante hasn't been written well in a long time. The last 2 games, I did not like how he was written. But Reuben Langdon, I will never say that he did not voice act well. And today, I earned a lot of respect for this guy. So ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you guys think about this. I thought this was absolutely freaking awesome. Hilarious, not in the ha-ha way, but just the holy crap way, I guess. Is there a hilarious that's a holy crap way? I don't know. I thought this was awesome. Reuben Langdon, dude, I hope that you are wildly successful now. I hope that you're going even further than you ever have before. And ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to hear about more of the things that I have thoughts on, thank you so much for checking out the channel. Check out those videos right here. And as always, until next time, cheers, everybody.